demo, so I'll be sharing their presentation. Okay, so Shivam, we are live, so you can start now.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Good morning to the second day of the regional and youth forum organized by IPPF SARO. We have this interesting session on new media and new narratives, harnessing the power of social media for SRHR advocacy. For this panel, we have our moderator, Nipun Srivastava. He's an LGBTQ and HIV activist who works on areas of communication and on LGBTQ advocacy. Uh, yeah, I would like to yeah, we were waiting for our moderator to join in. In the meantime, I'll just introduce our uh, our speaker members. Uh, yeah. Hello, good morning, everyone. Sorry for the delay on this session. I am Shivam. I work as a DHI officer, Digital Health Intervention Officer with the IPPF SARO office here in Delhi. And we are really happy to have you on the second day of this panel for the SARO Regional and Youth Forum. On the panel, New Media and New Narratives, Harnessing the Power of Social Media for SRHR Advocacy. The panel will be moderated by Mr. Nipun Srivastava. He's an LGBTQI and HIV activist who has been working on close intersections of communication and advocacy with vulnerable populations. And I'll ask. So basically, this session will be divided into four separate presentations by our speakers. Nipun will be introducing them. Followed by we will be having a moderator session and a moderator and a Q&A session. So please feel free to use the chat window to interact with all of us. Thanks a lot. Nipun, over to you.
Hi everyone, welcome to the session on new media, new narratives. My name is Nipun, and I'd like to introduce the speakers to you. The first speaker is Anu Bista. She's the manager she's the manager at the Youth and CSC Family Planning Association of Nepal. Anu is currently is working as for youth, and she's working for SRHR and is an advocate for young people as key change makers for global change. Anu has more than 7 years of work experience in servicing youth and marginalized communities in Nepal. Throughout her work, she has been able to contribute to the integration and development of teaching, learning materials for comprehensive sex education. Anu also holds a master's in public health as a Union Erasmus Mundus scholar. Then we have Tejasvi. Tejasvi is a journalist, and she is a digital editor from Gacy. She's a journalist, researcher, and artist whose attention is captured by post colonial human relationships at a time of the Internet of Things. They are currently working as a digital editor, as I mentioned, and serve as an editorial consultant for organizations, primarily those working in the space of feminist futures and public health. Um, then we have Aisha Bashir. Uh, she's working as the Network and Communications Officer for Asia Safe Abortion Partnership, ASAP. Aisha Bashir is a feminist, anti-caste and abortion rights activist from India. She's currently managing the online communications social media for ASAP, which is an organization working on promoting, protecting, and advancing women's and sexual reproductive health and reproductive rights and health in Asia by promoting access to comprehensive safe abortion services and by reducing unsafe abortion and its complications. Aisha has also been an advocate for contraception and abortion rights for Muslim women. Then we have Zainab Hassan, who is the project consultant for the Family Planning Association of Sri Lanka. Zainab is a project consultant, and she is working on queer advocacy project and on abortion study. She's also the founder of the Yellow Dot organization and has over a half of decade of experience working with global and local teams of UN Women, UNDF, Ministry of National Reconciliation, and CPA. Her work focuses on the empowerment of marginalized minorities with a special focus on gender and reconciliation. Her academic background is law and international development, and she's currently reading for Masters in Human Rights. So I would like to invite the first speaker to speak. The first speaker is Zainab. So if we can just have her on the panel, and we can just start the presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Hi everyone, good morning, assalamu alaikum, manakam and ayubowan, namaste everybody. I'm Zainab Hassan. I'm representing Family Planning Association Sri Lanka, and I'm very excited to be here at IPPS Regional and Youth Forum 2021. So today we'll be talking about new media, new narratives, and harnessing the power of social media for SRHR advocacy. And I think I'd like to actually humbly introduce this topic under three cluster points. First being SRHR are human rights issues. Sexual and reproductive health is related to multiple human rights, including the right to life, the right to be free from torture, the right to health, the right to privacy, the right to education, and prohibition of discrimination. But yet, to this very date, these inherent basic human rights are not provided for or grossly discriminated against across the world, with marginalized communities suffering the most. The pandemic has only worsened the situation for SRHR services, with interruption in information service delivery are estimated to have a serious impact on marginalized communities' health and well-being. I mean, the grim studies and statistics show that disruptions in access to services and information for a period of 6 months alone would lead to 47 million women in low and middle income countries to not be able to meet their contraceptive needs, and potentially 15 million unintended pregnancies. But with that grim statistic, let us move to my next point, which is much more hopeful, and that is never ever underestimate the power of the youth and social media. We have seen examples of this plotted across time, with the Tiananmen Square to the streets of the Arab uprising. We see youth and social media activists being at the epicenter of change and fighting for their rights on the streets, as well as taking to social media to garner support. Without those actions provided for, and without those platforms and necessary information exchange, we would not have bolstered and emboldened the fight towards freedom and the rights for inherent basic rights. Within the SRHR sphere, you see many ceiling shattering social media campaigns that are bringing light to normally taboo or topics brushed under the rug. In this panel itself, we have Gacy actually, whose work has been mainstreaming the queer voices and presence across South Asian communities. This power is not to be taken lightly and never to be underestimated. And my next point is that advocacy comes in many forms. Like I mean, we did bring Gacy up as an example, but see, it does not have to be so expensive for you to be able to create small and better changes. Sometimes the most inspiring are local small scale content creators bringing awareness to issues plaguing our existence that are not in mainstream media. These small and simple actions catapult these issues to the center of discussion and create tangible and sustainable change. To further elaborate on this point, I would like to introduce our Queer Media Fellowship program we are doing under FPA right now. To give you a bit of country context of our project that we are implementing, Sri Lanka, I mean, just the country context, Sri Lanka has ratified international human rights treaties, and even its constitution includes non-discrimination. But as we see across the world, are these rights, are these constitution rights and basic inherent human rights being met? Despite all these policies and all these laws, these blanket laws, members of the LGBTIQ community in Sri Lanka still face violence, stigma, and discrimination, and continue to experience intimidation, harassment, and abuse at the hands of both the society and state institutions. We have, even in the representations of the larger systems and the structures, even policymakers who believe that queer people are either have a psychiatric disorder or they think it's a cultural perversiveness. It is often stated that homosexuality within Sri Lankan context, again, I would really like to ensure that you understand it's within air quotes is what we're saying. It is by in no way a illness, neither is it a Western import, because actually even in Sri Lanka, if you plot it back in time, you understand that colonization is the one that brought it up into our laws and into our systems and into our culture. Back in the day, we used to celebrate homosexuality. It used to be in our Jataka stories and our Mahavansa stories and stories of our history. And like we say, a story is an interesting point actually, because a common caravan that is used for discriminated behavior that further perpetuates harmful ideologies is media. And we see media kind of a double-edged sword right now, because as many as there are people going and fighting for the mainstreaming of marginalized voices, we also see such toxic, very toxic and very harmful ideologies being perpetuated as well. So this is why FPAs, along with IPPF, actually started a fellowship program, which we were quite excited to start, for the first of its kind in Sri Lanka. So we actually had a fellowship program where we had an intensive training program. So first, we actually went through a pool of people who actually represented quite a large variety of spectrum of the gender and sexuality spectrum and across Sri Lanka. And we were quite surprised by the impact and also by the response of the community and the social society in this nature. I mean, we saw the fellows come in and give us such innovative ideas, and through these programs, these intensive programs and training programs, where they were linked with directors, with content creators, journalists, to mainstream media outlets, they were able to curate and create a 6-month program where they were given also supplementary grants to implement their vision. And I think this was one of the biggest, most important steps we took, because all these collectives of these 20 fellows that were chosen have created already such a great impact on mainstreaming of these voices. We just actually love to go get you through the type of deliverables that has been produced, because we have videos, we have interviews, we even have children's books, we have websites, we have magazines coming in. And all of these, I mean, individually, you may think that each one of them may be small steps, but the amount of impact, the amount of change that has been ushered in through this sort of segue and this gap has actually been momentous these past 6 months. I mean, just to give you a few examples, we have the Bender magazine that came under this fellowship program. We have stories of queer love and existence and acceptance, things that we don't normally see in the Sri Lankan society. And we see human stories, we have podcasts. So we actually quite we recommend, more than all, recommend to not just follow FPA Sri Lanka, but to follow these individual fellows as well, because they have so much to say and so much, and we would like to highlight those narratives importantly. I would actually love to end with a few tips that me and the fellows kind of curated for everyone there, just to give you a bit of an understanding of kind of the lessons learned, some sort of information exchange this way. It's not always out with the old and in with the new. I mean, we understand, as you know, all of us, our youth task force here, we're trying to create more new innovative ideas, but at the end of the day, there are also older mechanisms that could be maybe used and utilized while using modern mechanisms as well, kind of find the right balance between it. But the second point kind of contradicts the first, because it says sometimes it really could be though, because as much as we want to change structures to make it more inclusive, we also must understand that these structures may be so inherently sexist, so inherently toxic and patriarchal, that we may need to just let go of it altogether. So you need to understand where you're going to stand and which ones you are actually going to adopt. And obviously something I think across the conference as well we've been talking about is mainstreaming marginalized voices and narratives. I mean, collaboration is key also as well in pushing forward SRHR issues. So when you are mainstreaming marginalized voices, make sure that the authentic voices are coming through, and those voices of the community that need to be heard, because more often than not, it's opted by the mainstream voices, and then the true story may not be shown. So actually mainstream marginalized voices, a very important point that we actually thought would be a good tip from a learning experience. And one of the most important points, I believe, is be always willing to humbly learn and change. Even though I'm the project manager of this, there are so many things that I have learned. Being a queer person myself as well, I have learned so much through this program, and constantly learning, and most importantly, unlearning these prejudices and biases and toxic opinions that we have ingrained into our systems. Just the last 2 tips would be, try out that idea you think is too crazy. You know, like we've been trying to sort out like how in Korea they've had these protests with like images being flashed through like programs. And, you know, there are different innovative ways that you can put your message across while most importantly assessing your own risk and safety as you go along. SRHR advocacy is so important, but understand that your personal safety and your risk assessment and management needs to be on point, and you need to protect yourself as well. So actually, I would love to field any other questions after the presentations are done, but thank you so much for having me, and over to you, Nipun.
Thank you so much, Zainab. Now we have Anu. She's from Family Planning Association, Nepal. Anu, would you like to um, go through?
Yes, hi Nipun.
Yeah.
So, okay, wait. Okay, hello and namaste everyone. It's me Anu, and I'm presenting how FPAN, Family Planning Association of Nepal, have used TikTok for the SRHR advocacy and as an alternative method for to deliver the SRH information and to help continue learning of the youths on the SRHR. So here, first I'd like to draw your attention that this is not a part of any project, but just pop up when the Nepal government has the nation announced nationwide lockdown that is induced by the COVID-19, and then we have been looking around and exploring like how to get in touch with the youths and adolescents with the SRHR information so that they won't be at the risk of SRHR, at the risk of having like poor sexual and reproductive health, and also continue their learning on the SRHR. And given the fact that during the lockdown we ourselves have spent a lot of time in using the social media platform, so we have been exploring, and we just come up to get this platform on board. So before going to my presentation, I would like to show one very short TikTok video. So this is a very short video. I just want to show here that this is the TikTok video that I have grasped, and the song has been developed by the Family Planning Association of Nepal, and you can also access the full song at the given YouTube channel of Family Planning Association of Nepal. And the song talks about the my body, my sexuality is my choice, and what I'm looking for is the civilized and a very safe society. And we were very much pleased that a very young girl has chosen our song to make a video, and we're very much pleased that it has that influence, that it has dragged the attention of the young girls and even the youth. And here what I want to say is why we have chosen the TikTok. And I would like to show here some statistics that we have done some exercise before using the TikTok. That is, we have observed the last 3 year data, and it shows that by 2021 it has the increased number of users, like monthly it has the 1 billion active users, and that is too big. And seeing across the Southeast Asia region and across the region, it has a very interesting number that the Southeast Asia has the maximum number of users that has been increasing annually, and till 2021 it shows around 198 million, and coming to the Nepal, it has the 3.7 million active users. Currently we have 3.7 million active users, and hoping that in coming days it will also grow because it is getting that attention from the youths and even from all the publics. And gender wise, we have observed that the female users are, there are more female users, but nevertheless the male users are also in a very good number with 39%. And demographic age wise, since we are working with the adolescents and health, and we have the target age group from 10 to 21st, we could see that the maximum high number of users are between this 18 to 29 age group, and also that the more than 30 years of age group of population also has been using it in a very good proportion. So because of these statistics and evidence, we have chosen the TikTok to pilot TikTok for our SRHR advocacy and reach the adolescents. And also what we have been discussing, that why the youths are so much obsessed about the TikTok, and why the TikTok is gaining so much popular among the youths. So what we have, the possible reasons for this, is that is like we have only done some, from this our perspective, but it is not something that come up in any of the report, but this is a general observation that it is the easiest platform to show the talent from every part of the world, from every corner of the country. So it is a very easiest platform, and we are day by day we are seeing like there are so many talents hidden in our rural part of country, and this platform has been, and TikTok has been a very good platform to explore these talents and bring it out. And also this TikTok has been a nicest and also an effective networking platform. And since we all know that nowadays TikTok is also giving some gifts on the basis of their followers, and also the content they have developed, so it has become a source of income generation for this youth who have been in their house without doing nothing. So maybe this is also one of the reason that the youths are being active at the TikTok, and also they can promote their small business. And nowadays what we are also observing is TikTok is not only used for this singing and dancing, but also in sharing the information. So any kind of incident or accident, the events is happening, then you could see that it will quickly flow on the TikTok platform. So these are the few observations we have seen youths being obsessed of using the TikToks. So how in coming days, how Family Planning Association of Nepal is thinking to use the TikTok is like, as I have already said, it has been an alternative method adopted during the COVID-19 induced lockdown. And then we are using this app for the information sharing. We are developing the contents and the songs, and involving celebrities as an influencer, so that they have the message can be circulated to the large number of populations. And we are also doing the TikTok video competition during the special day celebrations, that and the videos will be mostly based on the SRHR theme that our days give us, such as Family Planning Day, Safe Motherhood Day. So we have that theme coming on this special day, and we will do the TikTok video competition, and all the this TikTok will be based on this SRHR theme. In the coming slide, I will also show like some of the themes that we have adopted in the past. And also we have used this TikTok videos that in the training and the CSE sessions also, because it has given a very within a given short time we could deliver complete and very you could say complete and precisely complete information to the audiences, and it will not even bore to the audiences. So we have also used these videos in the trainings and CSC sessions. And here what I would like to share a very short story that how we have done this. And after this, after my present in my last presentation, I will show you some few clips from our TikTok competition. So that is, uh, we have uh, we have planned for the TikTok video competition, and have given our youth information center, which is one of our youth information center, and we have given all the responsibility to our YIC, and they have made an announcement on the occasion of International Youth Day 2020. And the group, the YIC have created a small task group that works for the selection criteria, and like posting and evaluation and everything. So they have that small working group, and Family Planning Association of Nepal and also the respective brands have been in the supporting role as an advisory group. And they have set some of the terms and conditions, and on the same terms and conditions we have also mentioned we have also taken the ethical consent from them, so to post and use these videos in our further programs and trainings. So accepting these terms and conditions, we have received nearly 30 videos on different SRHR theme. And since it was our very first time, we have at least we are happy that at least we have received 30 different videos. And the theme of those videos that we have received is, you can see in the screen, that it has this theme like CSC, safe abortion, and also the my body my right concept. So you could see this. So from our TikTok videos, uh, till date, what we have observed is there are 1.6 million views, and shares, you could see that 2,592 shares have been made, and likes, you could see that, and the comments, we have also received some comments, and under the comments we have also received some queries as well. So this is the total reach that we have gained from our TikTok videos. And here, probably this would be my last slide. So I would like to show some video clips. I think that would be okay. Shivam, can I go to play for the videos?
Yes, please, Anu, please go ahead. We can't see the video though.
Really?
On the screen, the video is not coming at least. You need to change the screen on the shared screen.
I don't know. It shows that all panelists can share the videos.
Uh, so the window which you have for sharing the video, for sharing your screen, just change that window to the one which you want to share. Okay, that will help. And we can post these
Just try.
on the chat window. We can maybe share it on our end.
Yeah, we can actually share it at the end of the session as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anu. It was honestly a great presentation about like how TikTok is making and like and it's creating change for SRHR. It was a really insightful presentation. Next, we have Tejasvi, who is the digital editor for Gacy. Tejasvi, you want to go ahead?
Sorry, I muted myself. I didn't realize. Thanks, Nipun. Hey, everybody. Can you see my screen that I'm sharing?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. I'm just going to click on present. Give me a second. There we go. All right. So, hey, everybody. My name is Tejasvi. Let me just turn on the slide so you can all see me better. And hi, everyone. It was really heartening for me to hear Zainab mention Gazy's work when they were introducing all the panelists and what we're going to be talking about at SRH. So Gazy has been around for a really long time. It's a media platform and a safe zone, we both online and offline, for queer desis, queer people from this Indian subcontinent. And started off as a blog back in 2008. So we're actually turning 13 tomorrow. November 25th, 2008 is when we first kicked off the blog. And we also incorporated a few years later, between 2013-14. I think 2014 we were incorporated as a private limited company, so that we can be, we can have legitimate transactions and work with people, work with queer folks, do business, and also to just legitimize our presence online and even offline, for people to be able to trace us, because at the end of the day, we understand that safety is of primary concern for queer people in this country and in this part of the world, and for desis across. So yeah, like the slide says, we hold space for queer folks from across Southeast Asia. We have been talking to more and more people from not just from India, but also from Singapore, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, people who are queer and who identify as desi, who probably live, diaspora crowd. We have been trying to engage them. We have been receiving their stories. They are proactively reaching out to us themselves. We get some amazing stories, things we probably never even imagined in the editorial room, in editorial discussions. When we put out a call, we get people writing for us and writing to us to share their stories with the larger community. We publish at least one piece a day, and so as the slide says, 20 plus articles a month, 1,500 unique hits a day. Yeah, so our reader group is mostly starting from the age of 16 till the age of 35 to 40 years. And of course, we get traffic from across the globe because we have writing and stories shared from across the globe. One of our primary not media properties, but like an offline property that we have is the Zine Bazaar. And I'll just go back to that slide once I cover the Gazy zine. I also have a copy here. We have a Gazy zine. I don't know if you can see it, but like it's illustrated, and it is, we put out a call for people to contribute to it. Like this particular issue that I showed you is about queer stories. If queer people told their own stories, what would they sound like? What would those stories be about? Would they be love stories? Would they be about more than that, right? Because like I will explain, and like I will show in the further slides, we have so much more to talk about. Love is definitely one part of queer rights, but queer rights is so much more than that. There's healthcare, there's politics, there's participation in sports, there's participation in activity in public spaces. So much more than just love is love. Access to healthcare, like I said. So yeah, the Gazy scene is actually a very interesting property of ours. It's a physical book, right? But we promote it on our Instagram, and we also have the Zine Bazaar. So going back to that slide, the Zine Bazaar is, an annual event. We started off in 2018. We have had it every year except for last year because, of course, the lockdown. But we have been having this bazaar where we put out a call. We have other artists share their work. People, not just the Gazy zine, but other artists, other queer people, other folks in the community create their own zines, want to share their artworks. We all come together and we curate this space. We also have workshops along with it, panel discussions, talks, just spread over a span of 2 days. This is a really wholesome event that happens in multiple cities, like Mumbai and Delhi. That's where it's happened for now, and we are hoping to kind of grow and have it in other cities like Bangalore and Chennai as well in the years as we go forward. And then, of course, content creation online. Most of our content is hosted on our website. All of our content is hosted on our website, but we also make specific content for our Instagram because, of course, we will get into it. And then we also have media properties in partnerships with Tinder, like the Queer Swipe Stories, which we've been running for almost 2 years now, where we share queer love stories, people who have met through dating apps, people who have met offline, how their love grew, how they really explore their sexuality in the safe space of having a respectful relationship, what their love story is really about, because we don't hear enough love stories, enough queer love stories in the mainstream media, of course. Um, this is yet another of our initiatives that just happened this year. The Boy in the Cupboard is about a young boy who is kind of exploring his gender expression, gender identity. And, we also use the word cupboard because closet is not exactly an Indian term. It's not something that Daisies use. So we wanted to say that the boy, it's a young boy, about 7 or 8 years old. He hides in the cupboard, and his mother, his caregiver actually has to cajole him to come out and say, what's up, what's wrong, how can I make you feel safe outside of the cupboard, to be yourself outside the cupboard. It's a really sweet book. It was written by Harshala and illustrated by the art director of Gazy, Priya Dali. And we collaborated with publisher and got it out. And so this is also another initiative that we will likely be engaging with more as we go forward. So today's presentation is obviously about how Gazy has been leveraging Instagram, which is a very important social media platform for us to engage with the community. I call this presentation "Jaywalking Past the Algorithm" because it's really a shot in the dark. The algorithm definitely has its biases, as I'm going to walk you through. But nonetheless, with our queer sensibilities, with our eye for design, art, visual storytelling, we are figuring out how to carry forward the media advocacy and engage young queers on Instagram, right? And create the safe space for having conversations, for a dialogue as well. That's why I call it jaywalking, because there is no zebra crossing. We're just like crossing the road as best as we see fit. There is a bias in the rhythm. There's a bias in the algorithm. This has been very evident and it's been widely covered by the media. And there is a bias specifically against queer folks. Although Instagram is probably one of the most, we don't have TikTok here. It was really lovely to watch Anu present about how their organization has been using TikTok in Nepal. And TikTok was taking off even in India, and we were probably going to look at it, but then it got taken off the Google app Play Store and stuff. So Instagram still happens to be one of the most happening place for businesses and celebrities, for millennials and Gen Z folks to be engaged on, to kind of socialize virtually, especially during the lockdown, right? So we are very consciously building our presence on this platform, and we are very aware of also the bias that the algorithm displays, whether it is about whether it is racist or fatphobic, whether it is about showing female nipples, what they call breasts. They're not necessarily female nipples, but just breasts. A lot of the community has also kind of raised its voice against how there has been a lot of homophobia, transphobia, a lot of trans people, a lot of trans content creators find themselves shadow banned and trolled, and sometimes their content is taken down for some, like I think the fourth one, the Rolling Stone article that has been the screenshot has been shared here. At one point, just a digital publication called Salty had released this campaign featuring trans folks and intersex folks. They were not nude, there was no nudity. They were just saying, I think there was some caption that said something like, love me for who I am, not for my parts, because intersex people don't necessarily fall into the binary of female and male genital parts. And that was taken down because and they were accused of promoting like sex work on Instagram's platform, which is banned. Of course, we believe that sex work is work, and there can be other approaches to it without a ban altogether. But here it was not even sex work; it was just intersex and trans people saying that, hey, we would like to claim our space in romance, in sexual expression, sexual interactions, and that was taken down. So the algorithm definitely has its biases, and it's been coded into it. A lot of people have debated whether the biases are just the algorithmic bias, or it is a very conscious way that the platform is positioning itself and building itself even as the community grows. Um, yeah, so the next one is showing. So how we have been using Instagram is, there are so many of these features that Instagram has rolled out, especially over the past couple of years. Now it's not just the posts that we see on the feed, right? There are also stories. There are all, and in stories, how to really engage with people. If we are just putting out stories and saying, hey, read this, hey, check this out, that is not much for engagement. It becomes a one-way street. So Instagram has this feature where, the stories, you can ask questions, like you see one here, maybe you're new to us, so this is very recent because we're celebrating our birthday tomorrow, our 13th birthday tomorrow. We ask, the people who are our readers, who are our followers, who are our audience, as to what Gazy has meant to them, over the past 13 years, how long they've been engaged with our content, or how long they've been contributing to our content, and how it has changed, how it has affected them, how it has impacted them, how it supported them. Uh, we also have IG live sessions, because over the past couple of years, the lockdown has been specifically hard for the LGBTQIA community in India, and I'm sure across the globe, because a lot of us were economically affected. A lot of us found ourselves cut off from our, chosen family and the community that we would be engaged with on a regular basis, and we probably logged in with abusive, abusive families and abusive partners, things like that. So that was something that was happening, and we wanted to start engaging with people and make them feel like there was still a sense of community, still a semblance of community, where they could feel like their issues were being talked about. For instance, what we have here is a screenshot of one of our editors having a conversation about emotional abuse with someone who works in the personal well-being space and who was probably equipped to talk about it. So the thing why we keep exploring these new features is that whenever IG releases a new feature like the story, stickers, engagements, rule on stories, reels has been such a huge a feature that has been highly promoted by the platform, because, and even IG live sessions, first we could have only one other guest, Gazy family's account would have one other guest, like how it is in screenshot here, but then we could have more than one guest, because they wanted people to use this feature more and more, so they hype it up, they add new features, and the UX design and algorithm is tweaked in such a way, it's rigged in such a way that it promotes these new content formats on its platform. So we've been trying to use that to talk about. The IG Live has been particularly interesting because it's hard to censor an IG Live. Even if you're talking about SRHR, that does not mean we show nudity, but we definitely talk about things in a more explicit manner without trying, because on the image sharing, sometimes the image can get banned, it can get taken down, and then even in the caption, when we write certain words, we could get shadow banned because the algorithm detects those words and it says that no, this is not something that we want all users to see. Shadow banning is something that happens quite frequently on Instagram, and a lot of content creators, especially from the community, have flagged it. Shadow banning is when the algorithm decides that our content is not very, it's not something that the platform wants to show our users. So even if people are following us, we won't really show up on the newsfeed as much. But making use of all these other features, yeah.
Tejasvi, I would ask you to kindly wrap up because we have other speakers
Yeah,
also waiting. Yeah,
I will wrap it up in another 2 minutes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you.
So yeah, for instance, you can check out some of our posters from our IG live sessions. We have been talking to people who are, queer and fat advocates, and yeah, we have also been making reels. A lot of the mainstream media still does not really, but so what we had, the second and third one are particularly about focus on trans joy, because this is Trans Awareness Month. We wanted people to know that trans people have so much more to their lives than just being villains or just feeling insecure about their bodies. We also find ways to kind of create joy for ourselves, and we have guides that we are particularly designing for Instagram. They are created as carousal posts. They are spectacularly illustrated. And of course, we promoted the book, The Meeting the Boy in the Cupboard, through our IG Live session. We had a tete-a-tete that we hosted with the publisher, with the illustrator, the author. And all of this is available online. So a lot of people buy our books, buy our zines, and send it to people in tier 2 cities, places that might not have necessarily great internet, to make it accessible. That's why we still have physical copy, even though we are primarily an online media platform. We want to reach out to the queer community deeper in the country, in more rural areas where internet is still not that, connectivity is still not that stable. And we also do collab posts with businesses or organizations, NGOs that we are aligned with, whose values we're aligned with. So yeah, with that, I would love to see your questions at the end of this conversation after everybody's presented. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And on to you, Nitin, over to you.
Thank you so much, Tejasvi. I have a lot of questions with regards to your presentation. I'm sure like the rest of the attendees also have too. Next, I would like to present Ayesha Bashir. Ayesha is working for the Asia Safe Abortion Partnership. Ayesha, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are.
Great, great. So I'll just share my screen. Great. So, yeah, thank you so much, Tejasvi, Anu, and Zainab for the brilliant presentations and for letting us know about these brilliant tools that we can also use for our SRHR advocacy. And thanks a lot to IPPF for this invitation. I think it was quite exciting for us to, be a part of and this sort of webinar or a meeting, because given in the past 2 years, we have sort of completely shifted. The pandemic has sort of forced us to be limited to, online modes of communication and like using social media. So that has been like a big change that we all saw in the past 2 years. Because we have a limited amount of time, so I'll just say a bit about ASAP and the work we do, and then going into the presentation, which is how we've sort of shifted our modes of communication and have adapted to the like, for example, Instagram Reels and the new modes that that really came up to keep advocating for SRHR and keep advocating for abortion rights in an environment when, especially an environment when the focus was completely sort of shifted to like COVID related issues or healthcare related issues in that sense. So constantly trying to pitch in that abortion rights is an equally important service that has always been sort of put at the back end. And given the recent developments, it is sort of abandoned in a lot of countries and regions. So ASAP, as Nibun mentioned, we work towards protecting, advancing, and promoting women's people's SRHR rights, and most importantly, the right to access safe abortion and information as well. So ASAP basically came out of like a meeting that some medical doctors and service health providers decided that how important the rights-based approach, to have a rights-based approach to having an abortion law or having access to abortion is important. And primarily ASAP, when we started working with medical students and doctors and sort of sensitizing them or holding workshops, because if you see that doctors and medical service providers, they all form they're very important part of even SRHR, like just beyond advocacy groups or academics group, they play a very important role, because they're the ones who are directly dealing with people. So that was something that we wanted to focus on and work with the doctors and make them understand why abortion needs to be a right. So we started with holding youth advocacy institutes where we connected people from across Asia, and held these workshops where it would be a 3-day intensive workshop, and we will get deeper into the issue of abortion, SRHR, patriarchy, and like a number of things in the politics of it. So so we, as you can understand, we mainly have been an on ground and like more of a physical sort of a organization, and and that things. However, we've been using social media for quite some time now to not only raise awareness about abortion, but more importantly to engage in discussions and conversations, and also to sort of keep putting out their information and perspectives from Asia, most importantly, because even if you like sort of go online and Google abortion, you will get like the first few pages would at least be filled with, you know, information from the West or from the US or from the UK or from Poland. So even, I mean, that's great, but then we have a lot of you know, a lot of voices were missing from Asia. So that was the primary sort of motive for ASAP to, you know, go online and sort of create these sources of information. So yeah, that's what ASAP is about. And in the past 2 years, as you know, we have completely a physical meeting, and you know, what was not an option at all. So definitely, you know, because we couldn't hold our workshops or meet people in person, we started using the online mediums that we had, and we tried our best to sort of put out information there and make sure that that information is accessible to as many people as possible. So not just, you know, so we try to and I'll be going deeper into the presentation with that as well. So yeah. In the past 2 years, as I mentioned, as a result of worldwide lockdowns and physical distancing mandates, most activists and organizations have shifted their work online. And while the entire world was battling the difficult circumstances, we realized that it's always the disenfranchised and the marginalized who suffer the most. So, for be it in any country or any part of the world, it was the people, like for example, women who sort of suffered, and like many of the previous speakers also mentioned, like people belonging to the LGBTQI community were the ones who were, for them, locked inside was actually more dangerous than being outside. So a lot of these issues, as we spoke with our partners, started coming up. So it was not really surprising, but it's still disheartening to see that, you know, all of the work done by women's rights movement did sort of go back by many decades. If you see that, you know, there were a lot of news of domestic abuse coming up. We were getting helplines. There were even, you know, as ASAP, another work that we do, another important aspect of our work is to provide and help people seeking abortion services in countries with very restrictive abortion laws. So sort of connecting them to the correct information source or the service provider. So this is also something that we noticed, that we there were the you know, the number of requests that we were getting really increased, and domestic abuse was something that really increased. And not just that, women who had, you know, who had started going out and working were now getting forced to get married and, or, you know, get back to their household chores and the work that they've been doing. So it just felt like a step back. However, many people did also sort of say that because many people were locked down, it also sort of forced you know, for example, the men to take up a household chores. So there were definitely good and bad, but we always see that in any such sort of a calamity, it is always those who have already been suffering even before, you know, the pandemic in the world. We didn't really have an equal world, did we? Like for example, now we are all working from home, and I mean, if you think about it, a lot of, for over years and for decades, disabled people have sort of been, you know, denied the opportunity to work because of various reasons. And now it's something that all of us, like working from home is a very convenient thing that a lot of people, you know, can do. So yeah, just looking at it, so the pandemic sort of did change our perspective a lot. So access to basic healthcare services in these difficult times meant a greater risk of unwanted pregnancy and greater possibility of unsafe abortions. So as I said, like we were getting numerous requests for abortion, but there were many times that we were also not able to help people out because, you know, the resources were not there, the hospitals were not there, the clinics were sort of you know, they were all occupied into sort of catering to COVID related services or health issues at that time. It was definitely a difficult time in that sense. But however, you know, moving, like we realize that we have to make the best of the time that we have, in the sense that we are locked inside our houses. We have the opportunity, you know, the online world has sort of, whoever has access to, again, that's a privilege that some people have access to internet, or we do have that privilege. So we sort of use that to, you know, what can we do to put out the information that many people, you know, can easily access and use, and for their benefit. So we did reach out to a lot of members, partners, and allies to basically understand their situation and engage in conversations around the issues being faced by their country and community due to the pandemic. Along with that, in an effort to ensure people's SRHR needs, especially those requiring safe abortion services, are not hindered, we worked with country advocacy networks. Country advocacy networks are our regional networks or our allies in the different countries across Asia, who collated reliable, tested helpline services for people to reach out to in time of need. So, for example, someone living in an abusive household or someone required an abortion service. So, we collated that as well. The pandemic offered an important learning for us. The most important learning: the need of building cross-movement solidarity or building inclusive movements in the post-pandemic world. So I'll just go through a bit of the sort of the resources that we sort of created and released. So ISAP podcast was something that we launched during the COVID lockdown. We launched the series with the aim to understand how it has affected us differently, or even in some situations, how it plays out in different countries, regions, and affects different communities. So we had like a number of conversations with people from across Asia, but also marginalized people from and identities from across countries as well. So, for example, sex workers were extremely affected due to the lockdown, not only in terms of jobs not being there, but even in terms of healthcare facilities and services not being accessible to them. So these are just some conversations that we had a snap of that. Then moving forward in 2021, after we realized that the ASAP conversations were quite were found to be quite useful by a lot of people in understanding the political context of a lot of countries in terms of to understand their SRHR situation and abortion situation. So we after that we decided to go deeper into the issues that we sort of just touched upon in ASAP conversations. So be it regarding the safe abortion access in Japan, to existence of FGM in India, and marginalization of the queer community, to the difficulties being faced by sex workers, we launched a second series of more meta-level conversations. We dive deeper into the big picture issues that affect each one of us at a personal as well as a political level. Again, these are just some of the conversations that we had. And I'm really sorry, I'm just wrapping up because I just got a message that I think I have a limited amount of time. So yeah, another thing that we did was launch SRHR hotlines in COVID that I did mention earlier as well. So in order to offer some support to persons who are more vulnerable during such times, due to emotional, physical, and sexual abuse, to lack of access to healthcare services, for managing unwanted pregnancy, and lack of freedom to get themselves to safety, we put together, with the support from our country advocacy networks, a list of helplines that could be accessed from these countries. Shared below are some of these examples, and you can visit, you can look at all of these on our website and on our social media. So medical abortion fact sheets are, our medical abortion fact sheet was has been extremely popular and extremely helpful to a lot of people in countries, for example, in Philippines or Malaysia and Indonesia as well. So when we realized that recommending direct healthcare providers to people was getting quite difficult for us, we realized that we need to make it more easier for people to offer them the option or all of the evidence-based information that they might need to have to perform a self-managed abortion for that sense. So we then again along with our country advocacy network decided to translate all of our medical abortion fact sheet, and this is definitely a one of a kind resource that that exists out there, because and all of these medical abortion fact sheets are based on WHO and are now in different regional languages. So we have Arabic, Mandarin, Vietnamese, Japanese, and we also have an audio version for the fact sheet as well. So again, these are something that you can access on our website. COVID FAQs. Again, there was a lot of stigma, a lot of misinformation being spread regarding COVID, prevention, management, and then later on regarding vaccines as well. This is something again came out of our conversation with our country advocacy network and partners, and we realized that we do have, so our coordinator is, we do have a medical. A doctor with us. So we decided to collate all of the information, that the good evidence-based information, to share it with our networks and our cans for them to share it further with people, who might need. And last part I would like to just share is about regarding building inclusive movements. So in our efforts, as I said, that over the past 2 years, we realized that we cannot, and it's challenging times like these when we really need to come together. And definitely there are various and a number of issues that sort of were magnified during the past 2 years. But all the more it seemed more important for us to sort of come together and not just stand with each other, but also speak for each other. So we also realized that, okay, we are being online is sort of can be, is not very inclusive medium for sort of for a lot of people to have access to information. So again, in order to change that, and this is something that we're going to take forward in the coming years as well, that we want to we're coming up with, explaining concepts of SRHR, feminism, and abortion in sign languages, because we realized, because of the conversation that we were having, that that the terminologies and these words or these phrases like safe abortion, unintended pregnancies, or feminism and SRHR, they don't have the correct terminology in sign languages, for instance. So just by that, it is sort of missing out, reaching out to a lot of people. So this is just something that initiative that we have taken up, and we'll be, we're trying to focus on being as inclusive as possible, and sort of making sure that as we move forward in the post-pandemic world, we take everyone with us. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aisha. It was honestly a great presentation. I would like to throw the floor to the attendees. If you have any questions that you want to ask right now to the panelists regarding their presentations, regarding any issue about SRHR, please just ask the questions right away. We'll be responding to them. Are there any questions? Um, in case there are not any questions, or in case in the time, we get more questions, we can. I mean, if I can just ask the people to just switch on their cameras, the panelists to switch on their cameras, and we can have a moderated discussion on certain issues. Aisha, it honestly, your presentation really was very insightful, and it really made me think about user accessibility with regards to people with disabilities on social media. So what can be done on social media so that people with disabilities can access the SRHR information much more easily? Do you have any suggestions? Do you have any ideas?
Yeah, definitely. So I think one of the first things is that now that even the social media platforms, for example, that we're using, they do have a lot of inbuilt features in themselves to sort of make these platforms more accessible to people. For example, so all of the images that you're uploading on Twitter or on Instagram, you can add a description for the images that you're putting, because so description for all of the images that you're putting, and so that is just something for because your phones that are used by for example, visually disabled people, they have certain screen readers, and small things that we need to take care of, for example, when you're writing hashtags. So when you're writing hashtags, your each word should have a first letter should be capital, because otherwise the screen reader doesn't understand the hashtag and might not understand the issue, or in the sense the movement that the hashtag is representing. So just these small sort of things, and we can there are a number of organizations like for example, Rising Flame, or Point of View from Maharashtra as well, who've been doing great work in trying to make organizations that are working on SRHR. And another thing that I would like to say is that, just a second, yeah, is that organizations that are working on SRHR, or feminism or abortion, should also be mindful of the fact that we're not these are not sort of isolated issues, and we don't live single identity lives, we don't live single issue lives. So a person, so just if we take care of that in terms of any information or any thing that we are putting out there for people to use, and just take a moment to sort of think for ourselves that how many is this accessible to all people. Will is there any way that we can sort of make it more accessible to for example, disabled people? So this is something that we are we noticed that while we were doing webinars, we asked sign language interpreters to join us for the webinars, but during that we realized that there are a number of terminologies that we were using during the webinar that don't exist in sign language. So this was something that came as a sort of revelation, or it was sort of sad as well, because there are a lot of organizations, we've been doing some great work, and we've come a long way, and to not have these terminologies in sign language is something that we want to now consciously work towards changing. And also having having your platform open to people from these identities to share. So for example, from India's context, when you talk about marginalized people, do you have enough Dalit voices? Do you have enough Muslim women's voices and their perspective? So just be it's a bit, it requires a bit more work on our end, but in the end I think it serves a larger purpose. So yeah.
Yeah, and basically, like, just adding on to what you're saying, like, I also had this one question about, like, how can we involve more young people from conservative backgrounds, to like advocate for SRHR and like advocate for social change. And because Zainab, you are from Sri Lanka, and it's the punitive laws in Sri Lanka currently are so stringent. It's actually harming it's actually harming the access to, I think, information there. Like, I mean, it's just it's creating that kind of blockade. So I just wanted to, like, throw this question to all of you about how can we involve more people from different backgrounds. Like, of course, we talked about, like, people with disabilities, but we also different ideologies as well. Like, how can we involve more people into like disseminating and, like, propagating the SRHR information uh, to people all across. So just wanted to throw it to anybody, like, who would like to answer this question.
I mean, just to, if I could comment first on the Sri Lankan
Sure.
situation as well. I mean, agreed, yes, we have very stringent laws that do not allow for any sort of room to be able to advocate for those things of that nature. Even so, any abortion studies or any abortion work that we are doing, as well as any queer work and queer advocacy work we are doing, we also have to do it in the shroud of safety and beyond our risk assessment and management, because it is not as easy as telling people around Sri Lanka, oh my God, fight for your rights, go talk about it. Understanding we have laws that are so vague and that are arbitrarily, our queer community is constantly detained, harassed, and victimized and discriminated against. It would be a miss on our ends to constantly push the public to step up when they do not have the freedom or ability to step up without being either annexed or discriminated against. And at the end of the day, first of all, their safety is our priority. So when in terms of integrating it into mainstream discourse, we like to work with most of the organizations and most of the sections that are quite against these issues, and we try to agree to disagree, maybe foster dialogues and conversations like, yeah, we can have opposing points, but understand rule of law has no place for religion and no place for other cultural sort of biases and toxic perceptions to seep in and to control our population. Because right now we see a lot of discrimination, a lot of violence, and it's quite unnerving, and it is quite hard. Even when we're doing the FPA program right now, we have a lot of risk management and risk assessment policies and tools that we are using to ensure that people's anonymity is also kept safe, because there is no assurance right now. So yeah, I mean, we are all for putting across the message, but also understand your safety is of utmost priority and concern. And if you are to want to, like young people, I see every day young people risking their lives and talking about very important things. I see TikTok, I see young doctors going against medical institutions and talking about conversion therapy and talking about corrective rape, things that are happening in institutions and systems right now blatantly. But we see all of that so amazing happening across the situation. And honestly, just arm yourself with the right amount of knowledge and understand, take into account, obviously, again, we have to step back, understand our privileges, our own biases as well. I mean, understanding as a privilege, I live in the city. I am also, despite me being a queer Muslim woman, I am also of a social economic status where I am able to make these decisions by myself. So it's it's a very hard line to walk across. And when advocating for it, I really do recommend risk assessment in that way, because as much as we think we have the freedom as well to do it, in countries such as myself, where we do not have the freedom at all to be able to implement it, with even larger structures still hiding behind these facades to even push across projects, just be safe and try your best to make sure that you are in a safe space, and you um, call out to any organizations currently working in this sphere, because each and every one of us have come together in coalitions in Sri Lanka to talk about this issue, where SRHR, there is a definite barrier, a definite gap where we can't go past because of these laws. And that's why we are advocating for media reformation, so that people will be more on this one. So I'm so sorry. I think the esteemed panel of panelists also would love to jump in with any other extra points on this matter.
Thanks for pointing it out, Zaina. That's something that we also tackle at BSC, especially on Instagram. I'm sorry about the noise, there's some construction going on. But there is a lot of, like even within the queer community, there are fragmentations, there are fractures. It might be along the lines of caste, it might be along the lines of religion, it might be along the lines of disability. A lot of this, we have been, but I'm myself autistic. So I used to work with Rising Flame that Aisha mentioned. And so I'm very cognizant of the fact that as a disabled person, I'm also not able to show up in terms of, you're talking about advocacy, but it's so hard to always advocate for myself, especially when I'm gaslit by psychologists, by therapists, by psychiatrists, by professionals that I'm supposed to trust. Like systemic gaslighting is something that happens to people who are disabled, who are marginalized by other identities such as caste, such as religion as well. So we are consciously reiterating that in our language that we use online. We consciously try to also, moderate the comments and say that, hey, this is going to be construed as bullying. And we also make certain accommodation. We have been talking about this idea of neuroqueerness, where you're neurodivergent and queer, and these identities intersect quite a bit, because neurodivergent people don't necessarily see gender and sexuality the way we have been taught to see within binaries, within certain silos, right? And also disabled people and queer people also agree that this idea of how to normally have sex, the whole idea of a penis and vagina is what sex is about, is questioned by the queer community as well as people with disabled bodies. So these are all things that we have come to kind of unpack. Like I said at the start of my presentation, it's not just about love is love. It's about so much more that we have been told what is normal, what is not, what we are supposed to, how we're supposed to experience love, how we're supposed to experience life, how we're supposed to participate in public life. We challenge that through not just the language, not just by reaching out to more and more writers, more and more creators, but through live sessions and through reels, and also like written content, visual content, but also through moderating the comments. Because like I said, there are fragments within the community which are hard to acknowledge, because we are forced to, while we are a united front in certain ways, there are certain things that there are certain reckonings that we have to like look into ourselves. We are exclusive of people who have certain castes, certain oppressed communities, certain disabilities. We don't include them in our advocacy. So yeah, I think as people who own that space, we have to be more conscious about including them than expecting them to advocate for themselves, because they're already doing that. The system is oppressing them. The system is consistently gaslighting them. So I just wanted to jump in and say that.
Yeah, so but I wanted to also ask like Tejasvi, you, and also like the rest of the panelists also, with regards to the ownership of the content on social media. So a lot, I mean, it's there is a lot of like censorship that is involved by the moderators of like social media platforms. There are community guidelines, and just recently like Instagram modified its like no nudity policy somewhat because of one of the body rights activists. So it's I wanted to ask, like, where does the onus lie upon in terms of moderating content? I would like to say, I mean, it's not, I mean, I don't think so it's possible to censor anything with regards to SRHR information, because it needs to be explicit. It needs to it needs to speak more openly about things. But
Yeah.
where does it need to lie? Does it need to lie with content creators? It doesn't need to be a collaborative effort between the social media platforms and the creators. How does it how should it work? And this is, I want to ask everybody, yeah.
Yeah, I don't quite have answers, but I can tell you how it affects our work to talk about sexual and reproductive health disproportionately. Like, for instance, the nudity policy is about, I think they call it the female nipples at the breast. They have to be hugged or, closed if you want to share pictures of them online, or they have to be in the context of breastfeeding. But something like that creates extreme dysphoria, gender, body, and even social dysphoria for people who are transgender, who don't necessarily identify with what their breasts are being ascribed to, the gender that is being ascribed to, things like that. And even when it comes to people who are hard of hearing, deaf people, I've heard one deaf person who's also queer talking about how they use sign language to talk about sex very explicitly, which is seen as very vulgar by people who are hearing people. They're like, why do you talk about sex so explicitly? So there are a lot of these things that and once again, it's an image sharing platform. So a lot of time, it takes a lot more effort for us to create, like the whole, I forget what the word is, but you create like each image, you share an image description so that the, screen reader can pick up on it. Or if
Alternate
the caption
description.
is too long, if the image is not the focus of your post, then Instagram automatically down ranks it. So, sorry, Nipun.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
I think the platform by itself is that way.
um yeah, I think yeah, so I think it's because we just got a a timer to wrap up from Shivam. So I would just like to say thank you so much to all
We
the
can just take
panelists.
a remark which was coming from Aisha, and then maybe we can close on that.
no, no. I was
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah. We can just Aisha, if you just want to add on to something.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, just adding on to what Tejasvi said in terms of your question, Nipun, what you said that who does the onus lie with? I definitely think that the onus primarily lies with the social media platforms that are sort of making a huge amount of money and like benefiting grossly out of it, out of vulnerable people who just want to share their voice and experience online and use these platforms for that person. And also the onus lies on your elected representatives, who I feel are now sort of just using the tools that they have to sort of further encroach on people's privacy and their data and all of that. So that is a whole nother conversation that we need to have. But unfortunately, I would say that the onus in the end, like Zainab has been constantly saying, unfortunately, I say, lies on us to be as safe as we can, to be as secure in terms of, the platforms that we're using, where all our information is going. So yeah, I just wanted to end, at that sort of note. Yeah.
I think that, I mean, that balance needs to be there. I mean, I believe it's just, I mean, even this question about who needs to have that ownership is so it's so vague, and it becomes so difficult to answer. Sometimes it's hard to sometimes grasp that concept as well. So I would just like to say, in case anybody has anything else to add, with regards to their presentations, or with regards to any points that has been discussed right now, please free to add on to. Otherwise, we will just wrap up the this panel discussion. Thank you so much for being part of this session.
And actually, could I just add to what Aisha was saying? I'm so sorry. No, as in, yeah, I mean, I'm so sorry for prolonging this, but I was actually ruminating what Aisha was saying. And yeah, I do agree our elected representatives and social media platforms, which are actually grossly benefiting from us and using colored communities and marginalized communities at the forefront of their data grabs and their own corrupt agenda. But when it comes to onus, I feel like everyone else should take the onus to themselves as well, because we understand nuanced languages, understanding and prejudices and toxic biases, all those things we have to unlearn ourselves. Yeah, we could say yes, structures, education, media, all those things need to be streamlined as well. But in the age of information, the onus we could be it on us, because we ourselves have the power to educate ourselves, to be able to use more nuanced languages, to be much more caring, empathetic, and passionate in handling or approaching a situation. So just a small addition to that, to what Aisha was saying. But yeah, thank you so much.
I completely agree. Like, I think the onus needs to be on us as well. Like, in this age of information, like it's completely valid point to make, actually. In case anybody else has anything to add,
You can write to us, or the email IDs are also mentioned on the chat window.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks everyone for this session, and I really loved how it was ending, with so much of thoughts for all of us, at least if not the members who were present with us, we were left with questions, and I think we are heading towards something bigger and greater in that respect, and especially for young people who make this digital space more colorful and viable for the businesses which we have been talking about. It really is our responsibility at some part, what we also build the narrative, what this session was all about. New media, new narratives. It was about young people making the narrative. So I think you all have captured that really beautifully, through all your experiences, and keep doing what you are already doing, and speaking about what is very close to your heart. So thanks so much. Thanks everyone. Thanks Nipun for moderating it really well. Zainab, Tejasvi, Aisha, Anu, everyone. It was really exciting to have all of you.
Thank you
Thanks
so
so
much
much. We
for
will
giving
just
us a
close this
platform.
today. Okay,
All
bye.
right.
Thank you,
Thank you
Nipun.
so much.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.